Hi, this video is going to be about inferences. We have a very nice inference in the Torah portion of Vayera. When it's listed the food that Avram Avinu, Abraham, served his guests, the list is given like this. And Abraham took cream, milk, and a calf. Rashi, our great teacher, infers from this that Abraham did not serve bread to his guests. Rashi maintains that the verse is telling us, in fact, that he didn't serve any, even though it was not stated explicitly that he had not served. His thinking here is this. All the foods that were served are listed. Since bread wasn't listed, must be Abraham did not serve any. True, he had originally offered the angels that he would serve them bread. Something must have happened, and he didn't serve it. So Rashi understood something implicit in the verse. And this is Rashi's inference, that Abraham did not serve bread to his guests. Now we have to ask, how did Rashi know that bread wasn't served? The verse didn't mention it one way or the other. Can you possibly know a fact that wasn't mentioned, that wasn't even talked about? Rashi would claim, yes, you can. That's what an inference is. When it says cream, milk, and bread, and leaves cream, milk, and meat, and leaves out bread, the verse, in fact, is telling us that bread wasn't served. And this is a definition of an inference. Understanding a new piece of information, an additional piece of information that is not explicitly stated. Well, if something is not explicitly stated, how do you know if it's true or not? The answer is you don't. You don't know for sure, but you have a strong reason to believe that it's so. There's a reasonable assumption to think that it's true. Rashi doesn't have proof positive that bread wasn't served, but he has a reasonable idea, a strong assumption that it was not. You know, you could argue with Rashi, and in fact many people do. Other of our rabbis contend that Abraham, in fact, did serve his guests bread, even though it was not among the lists. So now let's review. There are three things we learned about inferences. One, that they play off of another statement. In this case, Rashi's inference plays off of the pasuk. The definition of an inference: it's a piece of information or an opinion that is not explicitly stated, but is there implicitly in the statement. And three, there's no proof positive for the inference. All you have is a reasonable assumption that it's true. In that sense, the reasonable assumption is your proof. Which means that the inference is open for argument. Like we see, people argue with Rashi's inference here. So let's finish up for the fun of it with the thinking of those who do argue with Rashi. They would argue, of course Abraham served his guests bread. So why wasn't it listed, we would ask them? It's obvious, they would answer. So obvious, in fact, that the serving of bread didn't need to be listed, like all obvious facts. Things that are obvious do not need to be listed and should not be listed. Only those special foods served only to special guests were listed. But bread? Every guest is served bread. Therefore, they would contend there was no reason to mention it. So that's today's piece, inferences. It's a wonderful thing the mind does, to understand additional things that were not mentioned from what was mentioned.